Tom Vigeant is the coordinator of the Sommelier Certificate Program at La Cité Collégiale in Ottawa, and he's also an instructor there. And he joins me today to talk about, or to answer, I should say, the 5 worst questions you can ask a sommelier when you're in a restaurant. Thank you, Tom, for being here. Welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Well, let's start with perhaps the worst question of all is not to ask a question. What are your thoughts on that when it comes to talking to the sommelier?
No, you're right. I mean, the subject of wine can be intimidating, and so the people that are seen to be very knowledgeable or to be experts in that subject can be intimidating as well. But these sommeliers are there to help you make better choices, or choices that are according to your tastes. So you should never hesitate to ask a sommelier a question. And if for some reason sommelier makes you feel like this question is not a good question, because we're having a little fun here with the worst questions, but as we know, there are no bad questions. And if the sommelier makes you feel otherwise, then that's not an appropriate approach. So you should never hesitate to ask the sommelier a question, any question you might have.
Oh, that's a good answer, and that's a good thought to keep in mind. And is there any question you would start with if you were a novice or just concerned about talking to the sommelier? What's a good opener to say to the sommelier to get the conversation going?
Well, I find if you're looking for the sommelier to really help you and propose something to you that you're going to like, don't hesitate. And it's not necessarily a question, but more of a to outline or to explain. What are your tastes? What do you typically go for? Are there any any types of wine you particularly like, or would you like to explore something different? And you can ask the sommelier. I typically go for this type of wine. I'd like to go a little bit off the beaten path. What can you recommend to me? Or have you tasted something recently that you really like? Is another way to really break the ice and kind of get the sommelier talking and just establish a rapport and yeah.
Absolutely, that's great. Okay, number 2, the next worst question you can ask a sommelier. Are you going to try to sell me an expensive wine?
Yeah, that's a very valid concern and certainly a fair question. Sommeliers should always propose to you wines that are in different price ranges. So if you're having a certain type of food, or you're wanting to try a certain type of wine, they should propose to you 2 or 3 different ones that are in different price ranges. And based on your answers, or based on the things you're talking about, you should be able to decipher as well what kind of budget you're comfortable with. And that way it gives you more options. You don't feel trapped saying, oh, this wine is way above what I wanted to pay, but I'm too embarrassed to say. By having many options, you can go for what you're really comfortable with.
That's very diplomatic. Question number 3 then. Why shouldn't I just pick the cheapest wine on your list?
Well, if you're picking it because it's something you really like, there's no harm in that. If you're picking it because you feel it's probably the best value, I'd say that it's actually usually the other way around. The wines that are on the lower end of the wine list tend to be the ones where restaurants apply the highest markups on. So it's pretty common to see 2.5 to 3 time markup. So the $12 wine will run you from $30 to $35. At a restaurant, so something you're paying $12 in the liquor store, that is. I personally, it's a matter of personal taste again. I personally think I'd like to go maybe in the ranges that are maybe a little bit higher. You're paying a little more, but the markups appear to be more reasonable usually. And another good option is actually if they have private import wines. You're not sure there what kind of premium you're paying, but at least there's the value added of the exclusivity, or that you're not able to pick up that wine anywhere, like in the liquor stores. So I find that adds some value.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. It's nice when the restaurant can offer you a different wine experience from what you can buy at the LCBO. At the same time, I often, whenever I see a wine that's popular on a lot of lists, if it's on that list, I will know what the markup is. It's almost good if they don't, if everything is mysterious and a new experience, at least for the restaurant and for the diner. Okay, question number 4 then. You've recommended a wine to me, my sommelier. I don't like it. Is it my fault for not being as sophisticated in my tastes as you are?
Certainly not. Taste is a matter of it's a very personal thing. It's not because a knowledgeable person or wine expert likes it that you're supposed to like it as well. And I would add also, if the sommelier recommended a wine and you don't like it, don't hesitate to say so. He should stand by his recommendation and hopefully offer you something different. That's his job, and they're usually happy to do that.
And is there a hedging way of saying this? Like when, I mean, it's so embarrassing for people who are not used to this to send back a wine.
Right.
Do you say, could you try this? I'm not sure. Or it may not even be off, but you just don't like it.
Exactly. No, it's another story altogether. Obviously, if there's a problem with it, if it's corked or whatever. But if it's just that you don't like it, you're right. I mean, there is a diplomatic way of saying it. That'll something like you just mentioned, or it's not what I expected. Can you try it and explain to me, why it tastes like it tastes? And
Right.
usually that'll get the discussion going. And would you like something different? And then it gives you kind of an in to say, well, yes, please. I don't think I'll enjoy that one, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
Mhm.
All right. And question number 5. Do I have to tip you separately from the server? And if so, how much?
Sommeliers are part of the team that serve you at the table when you get to the restaurant. Whether it's same thing with the people that are at the bar or that are clearing the tables. And the tips in restaurants are typically shared among all of the staff, so you don't need to worry about tipping the sommelier separately. He'll or she will get their share on the tip that you leave at the table. So there's no worries there.
And do I have to, or should I, for manners' sake, apply the same percentage tip on a $100, $200 bottle that I would on a $25 bottle?
That's a good question, and one that often comes up. My personal view on that is that there is maybe a limit, or there are different ranges maybe of percentages of tips that you can give, and if you're going for something very expensive, I would not, if I were the sommelier, expect you to tip me at the same percentage or tip your bill at the same percentage that you would if you were going for something that was more of a common price range. So if you're going for something higher, I wouldn't expect you to tip this as much.
Right.
I know that some people have different views on that, but to me, if you're going for that kind of price range, the restaurant's already making a very decent they have to survive and make a business as well. But yeah, 15% or 20% on a $200 bottle is a little high as far as I'm concerned.
Just a little.
Just a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's helpful. I think these are a lot of questions people wonder about. So, and you've got some helpful and very diplomatic advice, Tom. So, thank you very much for helping us out today with those questions. And we'll regroup and have another chat with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.